Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is from Revelation 13 that says, "Given to him to make war with the saints." Now, before I get into it, I'm going to ask you a favor. If you watch us here, or if you watch us someplace else, if you will go here, and I want to ask you to, how do I say this? To click follow us. Now, here's why. You see the number of people that follow us now is about 56,000. 2 years ago, it was at 54,000. So am I to believe that in 2 years, we've only got 2,000 more people to follow us? No. Somehow, I believe they have a way of seeing to it that people don't find us. So as a little experiment, if you're watching, if you will click follow us on this, and my guess is that the numbers are not going to go up much. But if they do, then maybe everything's okay. But my guess is that somehow they are keeping us from reaching more people. Now, on to the topic. All right, so the topic today is War with the Saints. Now, here's where I get it, and we can talk about specifically about DJT today. Revelation 13, "And there was given to him," talking about the Antichrist, "a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies," meaning God specifically gives the Antichrist the ability to speak great things, blasphemous things. Now, right now, we don't see too many people coming out and specifically speaking against Jesus and the church and the Bible and things like that. But this guy will. Mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power is given him to continue 42 months. So, for the last 3.5 years of the tribulation, he is allowed to say whatever kind of lies he wants, and there will be a lot of them. He is going to specifically, this is what it's about to say, he's going to be given the power to make war with the saints, and the saints will lose. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about today. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy. That's a direct attack against God. He opened his mouth in blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. So that's the Bible and everybody in the Bible. And it was given him to make war with the saints. Now, that's probably bombs and bullets, but since it just said he was given a mouth, speaking great things, bad things, I think it's a war of words. Now, I think that we are very, very near to that war, but until the Antichrist pops his head out and shows himself, it's not directly being fulfilled. But as we can see, it's getting close, and that's my point. And was given him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations, and that all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. I'm glad it didn't stop there. Whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Meaning, most people, unless their name is in the book of life, in other words, unless they are already saved, by the time they see the Antichrist, they probably will not be saved. They will probably take the mark and probably be tossed into the lake that burns with the brimstone, with the beast, false prophet, and 1,000 years later, Lucifer is added to them, and there is no escape. Now, before I get into this, I do not believe that this is the start of the internal revolution, and I'll tell you why. But it could be. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, once or twice anyway. So here's why. Okay, so let's go back to this. We've covered it many times. Chris Reed, March 25th, 2022, saw an angel standing before him, had a $50 bill, and he tore off a third of it. Then people started handing him newspaper headlines. I'll go through this part quickly. He saw the U.S. dollar drop 30% in value. That may very well happen this year. From conversations I have had in the last 24 hours, it's probably going to happen before August. That's not a prediction. That's what I've heard. Some say it could even happen in April, as in this month. Subtitle was Middle Eastern Oil Strikes Deal with China instead of the U.S. That just happened last week. And it officially happened last week. Now, it was actually signed August 24th, the start of it. So the first part of that, okay, in other words, This part here has happened. That means this part, the dollar dropping 30% in value, is about to happen. Now, how soon? Well, the prophecies say it's not like a boom, diddy boom, a gradual drop. The prophecies say it's a boom. In other words, like Friday evening, the banks close, and is what I said in the last broadcast, that the banks are going to close for a week. And that could be, we don't know for certain, but that could be when the banks open up a week later, all of a sudden a third of your money is gone, which is, by the way, I mean, I don't give any financial advice here. I'm not allowed to, but I'd rather have my money in gold or silver. And of course, you remember that Shane Warren was specifically told by the audible voice of God back in 2010 that silver will skyrocket far more than gold. Now, there's no guarantee it's about to happen, but it's still a good idea to be in a good position. All right, point number 2. Then the perfect storm. Inflation reaches a new high. Well, we can see inflation's about to get even more ravaging. Then a food crisis, as wheat and bread imports are at a stalemate. In other words, wheat is not imported anymore, and apparently what it's saying is that there's a big shortage, which for that, it'd be a good idea to go to Joseph's Kitchen and get yourself some wheat.
Today, we live in unsettling times. Have you ever wondered what you're going to do when food is no longer on the shelves? I'm Leslie, owner and founder of Joseph's Kitchen, and I want to show you how to make healthy, homemade, whole wheat bread for only a few $100s a year.
At Joseph's Kitchen, our ingredients have been packaged for immediate use or long-term storage. Go to josephskitchen.com or call the number on your screen to order today. Don't get caught unprepared. Go to josephskitchen.com now.
Riots and civil unrest as citizens demand entitlements, and an earthquake happened under his feet. That's probably the splitting of America with the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Then he saw Israel-Palestinian two-state solution reached. Major earthquakes hits Middle United States. Now, here's the reason I don't think that this is the internal revolution. Then, point number 5 and 6, actually, I look, that should be 6, or I'd have to correct that little typo, should be America in pieces. And that's could be talking about the internal revolution, but the subtitle is More States Secede from the Nation in Rebellion to the Federal Government. Then, U.S. military takes charge as uncertainty looms over the federal government. That's the internal revolution. Okay, so before we see the internal revolution, we're going to see a 30% drop in our currency. We're going to see the Middle East make a deal with China, which China just happened. Perfect storm. Then we'll see a food crisis, riots. Then we'll see a big earthquake split America. And then we see the internal revolution. So I believe this is not the internal revolution. That's the good news of the broadcast. Now let's go on and talk about it. So this is a statement by Donald John Trump, 45th President of the United States. And I assume that this is not offending the platforms that I'm on. I'm assuming that this is a public statement, and I'm not getting in trouble for reading it. But, we don't have any redress of grievances on these platforms. If they decide to take us off, as they did us once before, they just do. There's no one to write. There's no one to call. There's no place to complain. You just lost it. So they threw away 5 years of Bible studies, sermons, all of our daily programs, just like that. No letter, no warning, nothing. No redress of grievances. No, can we talk about this? You're just gone. Just because they just wanted to. So let me read it. This, by the way, this is read on Fox News last night. So if Fox News can read it, you'd think I'd be able to read it. This is political persecution, and I can't even say that word, interference at the highest level in history. From the time I came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower, and even before I was sworn in as your President of the United States, the radical left Democrats, the enemy of the hardworking men and women of this country, have been engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Again movement. You remember, it's just like I do. Russia, Russia, Russia. The Mueller hoax, Ukraine, 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 impeachment hoax 2, the illegal and unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid, and now this. Again, I want to ask you this as we go through this. Ask yourself this. Is the left trying to pick a fight? Are they trying to make MAGA angry? I believe yes. Why? Because if we get angry, if we do something wrong, that gives them the authority and the reason to do a takeover. That means our GUNS and our freedoms. That's GUNS. Can't say the word. The Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen in their obsession with trying to get Trump. But now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in the act of blatant interference. Can't say that word. Never before in our nation's history has this been done. The Democrats have cheated countless times over the decades, including spying on my campaign and weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent who just happens to be the President of the United States and by far the leading Republican candidate for president. Has never happened before, ever. The Manhattan DNA, try that again. The Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, who was handpicked and funded by George Soros, is a disgrace. Rather than stopping the unprecedented crime wave now taking over New York City, he's doing Joe Biden's dirty work, ignoring the murders and burglaries and assaults he should be focused on. Okay, so if you're one of the platforms and your platform is saying I'm saying some wrong words, please understand Fox News read this. This is public knowledge, and I should be able to read it, okay? This is how Bragg spends his time. I believe this witch hunt will backfire massively on Joe Biden. The American people realize exactly what the radical left Democrats are doing here. Everyone can see it. So, our movement and our party, united and strong, will first defeat Alvin Bragg, then we will defeat Joe Biden, and we're going to throw out every last one of those crooked Democrats out of office so we can make America great again. Now, remember, the angel that spoke to Dimitri said, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. Is this the communists trying to start an internal revolution? Then it went on to say some of the people will start fighting against the government. Now, is it that the good guys get kicked out and the bad guys get angry about it? That doesn't sound right. Or is it that the bad guys get kicked out by the good guys and then the other bad guys all across the nation start fighting about it? Now let's back up and see what he said. So he says we're going to defeat Joe Biden, and then he says we're going to throw every last one of these crooked Democrats out of office. Okay, now is he suggesting that that's going to happen by voting? We already know that the voting system in America is so corrupt, we can't have our way. So is he saying something else? Is he saying he knows something we don't know? Now remember, the Democrats have the ability to see the future. They have a looking glass. They have a time machine. They know the things that are coming. Of course, God does too. God can control the things that are coming, but they certainly do their part to try to control them too. All right, now let's go on. So, Trump right now is saying, Alina Habba, his attorney, is advising him to turn himself in. Then the White Hat General, whose names I shall not mention, says, do not turn yourself in. Trump says, we have a plan. And Trump says, he's going to turn himself in, and if we do, we win. If we stand trial, we win. Either way, we win. Well, there's a couple of what-ifs in there. So here's the what-ifs. Scenario number one. What is the worst possible thing that could happen? Okay, let's say Trump surrenders. The Secret Service says, we'll protect him. And of course, we've got to say, oh, you mean like you protected JFK and Bobby Kennedy? In other words, it may be that you don't discover that there is a deep stater among the Secret Service until the bullet has hit your chest or your head. In other words, a lot of times these traitors, you don't know who they are. So Trump has an accident in their custody, heart attack, anything, and dies. What would we see? We would see a bloodbath in America like we've never seen. Would they kill him? Yes. I believe they'll stop at nothing. If they can get their hands on his throat, they'll worry about the consequences later. So would that be the internal revolution? That would be the internal revolution. So I want to think this is not going to happen. Again, remember, they can see the future. Scenario number 2. Let's say the judge does not, quote, release him on his own recognizance, instead puts him in jail. The white hats say absolutely positively, we can't protect you. Any attempt to defend Trump on the streets of New York would result in a bloodbath with extreme collateral damage. New York City has activated 96,000 uniformed officers, and the feds will have 2,200 FBI and IRS agents on the battlefield. That's a total of 12,000 weapons to see that they can do with Trump what they want to do. What do you think they want to do? MAGA supporters grab their shooting irons and their pitchforks and they say, give him back. This time, they mean business. This time, they don't show up on a tour like they did on January 6th. This time, they show up for blood. All of a sudden, there's a bloodbath like America's never seen. Well, this is exactly what the left wants because it's a reason to take our guns, our freedoms away. Bad guys win. Good guys lose. Scenario number 3. So, Trump refuses to cooperate. The media then convicts him in the court of public opinion, and he is then guilty. And seems to me like I heard, I could not confirm it, that if a person has been indicted, that makes them ineligible to run for president. That would mean the left loses. That would mean we lose in 2024. Either way, it's a real sticky wicket. Now, Trump says he has a plan. I don't like his plan. I don't think he should go in. Let me give you a new dream. It doesn't exactly tie in here, but I'm going to go ahead and give it. Jason Meeks. In this dream, I'm going to pick up a Christian comedian evangelist who is going to minister at the mega church here in town, one of the biggest top 10 churches in the country. The man was Caucasian, tall and slender, was wearing a pale green hoodie, and his appearance was disheveled. Somehow in the dream, I knew that all he had was what he had on. The church had brought him in to raise people's spirits and to try to bring humor in rough times. The church gave me some cash to give to him for a rental car so he could get around for a couple of days while he was here. The amount I put in his hand was $738. And for a little rental car, like a Kia for a couple of days, right now that price is around $150 per car. After he was done ministering, I was instructed to give him a check for his coming to preach. We call it a love offering. The amount was a little over $1,700. While this amount seems like a lot of money for a small church, this mega church normally pays people anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to speak regularly. Boy, would I like to speak at that church. By the way, that's not just for the $10,000 or $20,000. That would be nice. But I'd like to just get a large church of Christians in America listening and informed and awake. Anyway, this man only got $1,700, not because this man had only got $1,700, not because he had done anything wrong, but because that's all the church could afford to pay him. Now, he says, this is what he thinks it means. This is the church I got saved and baptized in as a child. At that time, they would publish to the congregation how much their tithes and offerings were from week to week. Before, they used to bring it in around $900 a week. The interpretation of the dream is this. The man is skinny and disheveled and wore a pale green hoodie with worn holes in it, which to me signifies famine, both physical and spiritual. The fact that I handed him cash for the rental card instead of a credit card shows me that the credit system had dried up. As I said in yesterday's broadcast, it may be happening in April. The amount of cash that it took to rent a car for 2 days was quadruple what it should cost, showing me again prices are going through the roof. The $1,700 love offering is telling me that even the biggest and richest churches are about to go through some tough times financially. Now, again, that's why I'd send you to cornerstoneassetmetals.com and josephkitchen.com. The congregations are going to go through tough times. That's why the church was bringing in a Christian comedian or evangelist to try to bring their spirits up. But what they really need is fasting and prayer and rededication to the Lord. Now, we all agree with that. Do those tie together? Yep. I don't exactly know what's going to happen with this thing with Trump, and by the way, you don't either. Matter of fact, I don't even think that Trump has totally made up his mind what he's going to do. But I see a whole lot of bad options that could come out of this. Now is a really, really good time for us to be praying for our nation. And that's the reason we started Fast Gap, by the way, which has now over 700 people that fast and pray for our nation every week. And if you want to join them, you can go to prophecyclub.com, slide to the bottom of the page, click on Fast Gap. That's where you stand in the gap for our nation. We fast every evening from Tuesday midnight until Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. That's not a hard fast. And then we all pray the same prayer, which takes 60 seconds, maximum 2 minutes to pray. So we're doing the same fast, the same day, the same prayer, the same day. And the Bible says, wherever two more agrees touching any one thing will be given them. The Bible says one can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. So when you got over 700 people doing the same fast, the same prayer, praying for America, that's very, very good. And by the way, while you're there, you can also sign up for Fast Track. Fast Track is praying specifically for Stan and Leslie Johnson and for Prophecy Club and the Spirit of Prophecy Church. For example, when Leslie had her stroke here now about 4 months ago, I put immediately into Fast Track what was going on, got everybody praying. Today, Leslie just got back from 3 weeks ministering in Pakistan. 23 different times she spoke and ministered, and she's back to normal. And she's back to normal because of the hand of Jesus, and I think a lot of people fasting and praying for her. Prophecyclub.com, slide to the bottom, Fast Track to pray for Prophecy Club, Fast Gap to pray for America. By the way, my guarantee, I never, ever, ever ask for donations on those two forums. I never send product offers. This is only if you want to fast and pray for Prophecy Club or for America. And let me encourage you to get some preparations. It took me about 20 minutes to make these two loaves in my kitchen at an ingredient cost of about $12 each. In a time of food shortage and emergency, I'm going to cut each one of these loaves into 14 slices. Eat a slice in the morning and the afternoon, I'll be satisfied. You want long-term food storage? You want to cut your food costs? Here it is. Eat 2 whole wheat bread slices daily for about a year for about $800 each. JosephKitchen.com's wheat berries come in a nitrogen-infused 7-gallon pail for long-term storage. Most other emergency food costs about $10,000 per person per year. That's right, about $10,000 per person per year, but at Joseph Kitchen, you could do it for about $1,000 per person per year. Now, to get started at josephkitchen.com, you're going to need a machines package. That's going to give you the grinder, the bread machine, the knife slicer, all you need to make bread, and then you decide how much food you want to get. You want food 6 people 1 year, 4 people 1 year, 2 people 1 year, or just one person for a year, all at josephkitchen.com. About $1,000 per person per year at josephskitchen.com. Use the promo code Prophecy Club. Get you a $50 discount. josephskitchen.com, promo code Prophecy Club for a $50 discount on your first order. Terry Saka with CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. So what's going on in the world of finances? Why should they call today?
Well, China has laid out in a speech a few weeks ago exactly what they think of the United States. I haven't seen that in my 55 years. With China and Russia forming these reserve currencies, new reserve currency, we better be prepared because that dollar is going to be in deep trouble and we're going to need assets to protect us from it.
CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. Call them or go online, CornerstoneAssetMetals.com, or call them at 888-747-3309, 747-3309. Next is, I'll send you to EMPShield.com. If you use the promo word prophecy, you get a $50 discount. What is that? Well, it looks like this. This is the one that goes into a car, okay? And you put the red wire to the red side of the battery, you put the black wire to the black side of the battery, and the green one attaches to the body of the car. Then you peel it off right back here. Just peel that off, stick it inside of the engine compartment of your car. And the whole point is when the electricity goes off or when some kind of a suitcase nuclear device goes off, this is supposed to be able to stop that device from destroying every computer chip in your car. Because if every computer chip is destroyed in your car these days, you couldn't possibly replace them all. Throw the car away. So, EMPShield.com, promo code prophecy. Leslie Johnson had a prophecy back in 2011. She says, the Lord says there's going to be something put into the water supply in many cities of the nation. People will begin to get sick, some will die. Get a good, reliable water filter. You will not be able to trust the tap water or the bottled water. You must get something to filter the water you are going to need. That's back in 2011. So if you want it, we suggest you go to prophecyclub.com. You click right here where it says Berkeys. This is what it looks like. Currently, all Berkeys are in stock. The one I have is this guy right here. It's the Crown. It has 8 filters. I recommend you get as much as you can afford and also recommend you get some extra filters. That's at prophecyclub.com.